Welcome to another tech video. So today we're going to be looking at the TP-Link offering of their low-cost mesh Wi-Fi solution. So this is the Deco, it's the M5 system. So this is Wi-Fi 5. It's a 3-unit system and it gives us up to 5,500 square feet of coverage, or 500 square meters of coverage. Works with Amazon Alexa. It's got really good high throughput. So being Wi-Fi 5, it's 867 megabits a second on 5 gigahertz and 400 megabits a second on 2.4 gigahertz. 4 antennas per device, and this is a 3-unit system. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to have a look at the system, how to connect it and how to set it all up. We've done a couple of these in the past and we thought we'd create a video to show you how to get things set up. So in the box, really well packaged, nice packaging, and in the device itself we've got 3 units, and if we take one of the units out, the setup is really simple. It's all done with an app on the smartphone, and on the device itself you've got 2 gigabit ports and a port for the power adapter. So these are non-PoE, so you do need to drive these with the power adapter, and the cost of them ranges from about £180 up to £220 depending on where you buy them from, but the average price is around about £180 for the 3-unit system. They're quite discreet. On the top here you've got a small LED which gives you some status indicators. So for instance, red tells you that it's got an issue, green means it's registered and working well, blue means solid blue means it's setting itself up, and when it's blue and pulsing, that means it's ready to be set up, and when it's yellow it means the device is starting up. So very small devices. On the back here you've got a reset button, so you can go in and reset the unit itself. It's got 2 gigabit ports. The first one port is to connect to your router. The other 2 ports can be used for, or you can connect one to your router on the router device, and you can use any one for that. And the other port you can connect your LAN devices, so you could connect a network switch into your router module and then power off your wired devices if you want to, or on the actual node unit you can connect things like a Sky TV box. You can plug directly into that, and that will give it a stable solid connection. So underneath the tray, the 3 units, we lift that out. We've got our 3 power supplies. We've got our RJ45 network cable, and the way that you set it up is you take your first unit, you take your wired LAN connection, so your RJ45 cable from your router, and you would connect that into either one of the ports like so. And then you take your power adapter, quite slim devices, not too bad. Plug one into the wall, plug the other one into the back of the unit. As you can see here, you've got the yellow light on the top which tells us that it's starting up. So once that's powered up, it's just a matter of moving on to the application on your smartphone. So you want to download that from the App Store, and the app is called Deco. So if you just search for Deco on your App Store, it will find the app. You then need to create an account, and you can have as many networks as you want. So if you've got multiple systems, you can access all of them remotely from the app, no matter where you are. So it phones home basically to TP-Link and gives you the option to control your network from outside of your network without any additional opening ports or anything like that on the firewall. It all makes an outbound connection. Okay, so let's move on and get the unit set up. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to come in and navigate to your Deco app. As you can see here, I've already got one set up. This is for a different network. So what we're going to do is you can either click on the plus sign, or you can click on the hamburger menu. You can click on your left and right arrow on here, scroll to the right, and you can create a new network. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you what type of device you're using. So for us, we're using the M5 system, so we're going to scroll down and we're going to select our M5 device. We're going to select next, and we're going to say I don't have a modem, and we're going to plug in our device, and we're going to click on next, and it's going to ask us, is the light pulsing blue? It is, so we can go ahead and select pulsing blue, and it will look for it via Bluetooth. And as you can see on the device itself, the LED has now turned blue. And what we're going to do on the app, we're now going to scroll down and we're going to say, we're going to give it a location basically. So wherever your router is, that would be the location. So if the router was in the office, then we select office. It's then going to go off and detect our connection type for the internet. And as you can see here, it's saying that we are using a dynamic IP address. So if you're using a dynamic IP address, this will be for use cases such as Virgin Media would use a dynamic IP address. On the Virgin Media device itself, you would want to put that into modem mode to be using a dynamic IP address, so you don't get double natting. If you're using a BT hub or a BT router, you can select dynamic IP address again for that. And the times that you would use PPoE would be, for instance, if you didn't have a BT hub but you had an OpenReach modem, you can plug directly into the OpenReach modem and you can give it a username and password with PPoE for it to make its connection outbound. The other options are static IP address, L2TP, PPTP. In other words, if you are using a VPN, then you can do that and set that here. But for us, we're going to leave it with dynamic IP. We're going to click on next. And that's then going to come in and prompt us to set up a Wi-Fi name. So we can create our Wi-Fi name. We can call it, let's call it Deco SSID. And we're going to give it a temporary password, temp12345. You want to make sure that when you're setting your Wi-Fi name and password, you give it a really strong password. If you are adding this Deco to your system for the first time, so if you've already got a router, then what I'd suggest is using your existing Wi-Fi name and existing password, and then all your devices will automatically reconnect to the system. You won't need to go around and re-input passwords or anything like that. Then we click on next, and that's going to create our Wi-Fi on our system. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to now connect to your Deco Wi-Fi to continue the setup. So we're going to click on connect, and it's going to ask us, do we want to join the Wi-Fi? Yes, we do. So we're going to click on join. It trusts our password because we've input it into the Deco app. And there we go. We can see that that's now connected the phone. It makes sure that you've got an internet connection. So you can see here we're now online. And the next thing that you can do is you can now add your second device. So for your second device, you don't need to plug in a network cable, obviously, because your second device is going to talk to your first device. So all you do is you connect your second Deco device, turn it on, and wait for that to boot up. So our second deco device is now booted up, so we can go into our app and we can click on add another deco, and again it's going to ask us for the model because you can mix and match with the system. So our second one is another M5, and it's going to ask us what sort of type of house we've got. As you can see here, it's telling us we've got a 2-floor property, so it's going to tell us roughly where to position the units. So we're going to click on next, and it says, is the deco LED pulsing blue? Which it is. So that will then go off and look for the new deco. It will do a mixture of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So once it finds it via Bluetooth, it will add it into the network and then automatically join it to the Wi-Fi. And there it's found the device. And again, it's going to ask us where it's going to be. So we can say for this one, we've got one set to the office, so we're going to add this one to, let's set this one to the kitchen. And at this point, what you can do is you can also add a label onto the unit. So now while that's connecting the second one, we can plug in the third one and get that powered on. And as you can see here, the light's gone green, so that's got a good connection. And then we're going to add the third one. So we've got that powered on. We're just waiting for the LED to start pulsing blue. Okay, so that's now pulsing blue, and we're going to add another deco. And again, it's an M5 unit, so we're going to select M5. And we're going to click on next and say yes, the unit is pulsing blue. And there it's found it, and we're going to say this one, so that one was the kitchen, we can say this one is for the master bedroom. And again, what you want to do is make sure that you label the devices so you know which one's going where. And then once we've done, we can click on I'm done for now. Okay, so we can switch between the networks. So we're going to select this network. We're going to go back, and as you can see here, we've got our system ready. So the first thing that you want to do before you do anything else is you want to come into the More option, bottom right. You want to click on Update Deco, and this will go off and check for a firmware update. And as you can see here, it's found a firmware update, so you want to click on Download Firmware. So this doesn't do anything from the app. Your app is talking to the primary deco device that is then talking to all of the other ones, and it's going to install the new firmware onto all of the devices. This takes up to 5 minutes. When the firmware starts updating, the green LED should flash to tell you that it's updating itself. And then once the firmware update has run, the devices will restart, and as you can see, the LEDs have turned yellow to show you that they're now starting up. As you can see now, all the lights have gone green, but on the app it's telling us that the system's still rebooting. That's to give it enough time to start up and make its connection back up to TP-Link. But you want to wait for this to count down and finish. And I'm going to go back to my Wi-Fi settings. And I'm going to reconnect back to the Deco SSID. And then I'm going to go back to my app. And that tells us that it's updated. Okay, so this now takes us back to the main settings. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on Test Internet Speed to make sure that it's running and we're getting the throughput that we expect. So I'm on a 200 meg Virgin Media connection, so let's test and see what the speeds are that we get. And that's then going to give us the result. So as you can see here, 200 meg, I'm getting 215 meg down and 20 meg up, which is absolutely correct. And that's the simple form of the setup done. So the next thing that you want to do is you can go through and have a look at the parental controls, the antivirus, the quality of service. However, for the antivirus and the intrusion prevention system, it will use the Trend Micro system for that, but you can enable it. There probably will be a subscription for that, but we are not going to be using it because we've got our own various antivirus and threat protection services running. So let's go into Wi-Fi. So this gives you the ability to switch on and off 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. You can change your SSID. You can change your security as well. So as you can see here, if we go into under the security settings, it gives us our SSID, our password, and you can select WPA2 with PSK AES or WPS2 AES and TKIP. Now you want to make sure that you select the WPA2 AES, otherwise your iOS devices will come back and report it as an insecure network because TKIP is no longer trusted. So always make sure it's set to AES, and the firmware update will take care of that for you, will automatically set that for you. So in terms of the advanced settings, you can see here you've got the ability to change from dynamic to static PPOE. You can change the internet connection type there. Just go in and gives you the ability to change that as you see fit for your connectivity. We've got ignore ping from the WAN IP, which is correct, so we're going to leave that as it is. You can then go through and create VLANs for your IPTV, so in other words CCTV cameras and things like that, if you're going to be cloning the MAC address of your router. If you're using sort of bridge mode, you can do that there. And SIP ALG, this is an important one. So if you are using a VoIP phone, you want to make sure that SIP ALG is set to disabled. But if you're using games, for instance, you play a lot of games, so gaming, you want to make sure that UPnP is set to enabled. And to do that, just go in and make sure that you've got a blue tick there. And when you come back, you'll see that UPnP is now enabled. And what this does, this will open the relevant ports in your router to allow your gaming and your Skype and various other services to run. Fast roaming and beamforming, you want to have those enabled. So fast roaming means that you can roam quickly between the different access points. Beamforming means that you get a nice strong signal to your individual devices. You want to leave that as enabled. And then you can change the operation mode. So at the moment we're set to wireless router mode. If you just want it as an access point, in other words, it will utilize all of the functionality from your own router, then you select access point mode rather than router mode. So that's all there is to it. Obviously access mode will disable some of the services like NAT, parental controls, and quality of service aren't supported because that's all done by your router. So for most cases you would have access point mode enabled. If you're going to be using router mode, then you want to make sure that you use dynamic IP, static IP, or PPOE, and it will use the system itself rather than your router. That's pretty much all there is to talk about on the advanced settings. WPS, again, if you want to join using WPS, then you can set that here, and you can easily connect that to your closest deco unit. That's all there is. If you want to blacklist devices, you've got the ability to block a device. So if you don't recognize devices on your network, then you can come in here and block it via the MAC address on that. And again, under the home care settings, you've got parental controls, antivirus, quality of service, monthly report, and one of the nice features is you can give other people access to control your network. So for instance, if you're using it in a small office, then you can have multiple people being able to make changes to it if you want them to. Under the more option, that is, so smart functions, we're not going to be using any of this, but smart functions will be its integration with Alexa. I'm not going to talk any more about that, but you've got the ability to set automation tasks. So for instance, if you want your Wi-Fi to shut off at a certain time, you can do that, and you can also control it via your Alexa device. Under overview, this tells us how many connections we've got connected and the location. As you can see here, it's set to home, and whether you're connected to the internet or not. So that's all there is to it. If you found that video useful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just want to say thank you for watching. Every view really does help, and we will see you in the next one.